Is Virginia wearing blackface? Presidential politics and the State of the Union, all together on this episode of The Uprising.
LibertyNation.com. They're the resistance, but we are the uprising. With Scott Cosenza and Tim Donner.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it?
I love the poorly educated.
The voters have guaranteed themselves slavery, economic disaster.
I can't believe I'm losing to this guy.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
I have never met with Russians.
Our elected representatives can abuse subordinates and then secretly use a slush fund of our money to pay them off.
Black Lives Matter, the Antifa movement, is interested in preserving the fabric of America.
Welcome back to The Uprising, the podcast at LibertyNation.com. This is Scott D. Cosenza with Tim Donner. And thank you all for joining us. Tim, thank you. How are you today?
If you're going to use your middle initial, then I should too. It's Timothy E. Donner,
yes,
just so you know.
Well, you've got probably like 3 other initials, right?
No, that's
that
right.
Sort of Mayflower.
Of the manner born
yes,
thing.
It's let it all, like George Herbert Walker Bush, right?
Yeah, let's start the whole thing with class warfare. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. Well, actually,
I'm a victim, Scott. I'm a victim.
You know what? That actually is an interesting point. So I think I made the point on last week's podcast that that Howard Schultz would not have been considered a white guy when he was a kid. He would have been considered an ethnic Jew. Now, you have never been confused with anything other than the straightest, the whitest of the white, okay, for real. And it's funny because we have this meltdown in Virginia where we both live and work over blackface right now. It's really it's crazy what's happening. So just can you give everybody, for people who don't know, give a 30-second or less thumbnail sketch of what has happened about blackface in Virginia.
If I can do it in 30 seconds, then I'm in the wrong job. Okay, so first, Ralph Northam, the governor, they discover apparently a disgruntled classmate who was really upset about Northam's position on fourth trimester abortion,
right.
essentially, outed him by bringing forth a picture from his not high school, not college, but medical school yearbook with a picture which is now going viral all over the world.
Or 2 pictures. The whole...
Well, there's one picture with 2 guys.
With the collage, right. There's a couple pictures in there, and one of them is a guy in a Klan robe.
There's a guy in a Klan robe and hood, and another guy with a blackface. And so he he actually waited 3 or 4 hours, but got it in time for the 6 o'clock news cycle last Friday.
Right.
Apologized to anyone he may have offended, said it was awful, I don't know how I could have done it, blah, blah, blah. But the next day he comes out and says, well, wait a minute, that actually wasn't me. Too little, too late, and his revelation that he had, in fact, dressed up in blackface, but not in that instance, but had in another time dressed up as Michael Jackson, and then it has to be the most bizarre single political moment that I can remember in recent history. He offered to moonwalk at the press conference. So you had every Democrat...
Let me just interrupt and say right now, black or white, young or old, I love anybody who can pop like that.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree, because I sure as heck couldn't do it. But, I mean, he had calls from every Democrat in the entire country calling for his resignation. Right. And they were salivating at the prospect of elevating the young, upstart, rising star African-American lieutenant governor named Justin Fairfax.
Who happens to be a Democrat as well.
Of course. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, out of the blue comes an allegation of sexual assault, 15 years ago by a woman who had made it.
A credible allegation.
It seemed to be credible.
By a university professor.
Well, let's put it this way. If you're going to say it's credible, then you have to say that Christine Blasey Ford's was credible.
Right.
I mean, for the sake of objectivity, it's a similar situation from a woman in a similar profession in a similar part of the country.
Except for the fact that in the Blasey Ford scenario, Kavanaugh was accused of a physical assault that fell short of what we consider to be a sexual assault. And in this case, we have allegations of a completed sexual assault.
It's true. And the other big difference is that is that Brett Kavanaugh said he never knew this woman, never saw her, wasn't there, whereas Justin Fairfax, the lieutenant governor of Virginia, said, yes, I did have a consensual affair, and because he couldn't just deny it. I guess he felt he couldn't, but the woman said, yeah, it started out consensual with just kissing, making out, and then he forced her into oral sex. So
then the third card fell.
And then the third card fell. Well, at least, Virginia Democrats said, we have the Attorney General as well, until he revealed this week that he had dressed up
Herring, right? Is that his name?
Mark Herring,
right.
that he had dressed up in blackface.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you've got a trio of scandals with the 3 statewide officers, all Democrats. And the delicious part of it, Scott, is that if all 3 of them resign, which as a Democrat these days, you were supposed to believe the woman automatically, because that's what happened with Christine Blasey Ford.
Hashtag believe all women.
Hashtag believe all women.
Yeah.
So then that would put the lieutenant governor out of play. And then you've got these 2 blackface, the governor and attorney general. I don't know how they're going to continue to have any position of authority in the state. But if all 3 of them go down, you've got a Republican who's the Speaker of the House and 4th in line who would become governor. And you want to really make this even more bizarre. Do you know how that Speaker of the House got his position?
Tell me.
They picked his name out of a hat in a tied race.
How did I not know this?
A flat-footed tie for the last seat
this?
in the
Between who and who?
And his name is Cox. Okay, and they picked his name out of a hat because he finished in a flat-footed tie. The last race finished in a flat-footed tie. So it could just as easily be a Democrat Speaker of the House, but for the flip of a coin, or in this case. So this is the most bizarre political imbroglio that we can ever remember. It's just too bizarre to even sort of get your hands around.
Are great hypocrisies revealed in this story, and I appreciated your statement that if you think that the accuser of the lieutenant governor is credible, then you have to give that credibility nod to Blasey Ford. And I think I always said that I didn't think that Blasey Ford was lying. But I have not examined these lieutenant governor allegations to the point where I even really want to speculate on whether I think they're true or not.
But the issue isn't even whether you think they're true or not. The issue is that the Democrats have set the bar, that all women must be believed.
Well,
and that's true. And she's come out publicly.
But let me just talk about the hypocrisy.
Described the details.
Let me just talk about the other hypocrisy that I think is revealed, Tim, which is, on the one hand, you have Republicans who, if this were a popular Republican governor, would be saying, I firmly believe, it was however many years ago, he was in college, it may not even be him. What are we talking about here? Let's move along, leave him be. Who are now saying he has to resign because of these decades-old photos. And you have Democrats who would have said, if it was a Republican governor, they would have marched into Richmond and burned down the governor's mansion if this guy didn't resign, who are saying, well, let's take a second look at this, and maybe it wasn't all that bad.
Well, they don't really know what to do, Scott, because they know that they've been cornered. They've been cornered by their own words.
So many of them have. You can never be woke enough, Tim, and the ball will always keep moving. So even if you're one of these people who's on the party to destroy somebody today, in 6 months it may be a new thing. Like, you didn't even know that you weren't supposed to, call tall people tall or something like that. And with that in mind, one of the left's favorite prime time sort of in the daytime, critics of the right, Joy Behar, may have a problem here with some blackface issues. Why don't you go ahead and play that clip, please?
All right, this is, the Joy of Behar.
In the New York Times, they had an op-ed piece in praise of naturally curly hair. They say that it's making a comeback.
When did you leave? I've always had curly hair. Y'all late. Is that you, Joy?
Oh, this picture.
Oh, Joy, is that you? Joy, that is you?
Yes.
Joy, are you black?
No, I know.
The Joy of Behar. Yeah, she dressed up as she put in the adjective, beautiful African
That's exactly
queen.
right. And it's kind of interesting. It's so hilarious. She says that she wore makeup. They said, "Oh, did you wear blackface?" I wore makeup tinted a darker shade than my skin.
Yes,
right?
that's
How
right.
artfully put,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Oh, so you mean you were in blackface? And by the way, having curly hair doesn't give you a pass. You know?
Darker than her skin color, which meant it could have been totally black shoe polish because that would fit the description.
They have a photo, by the way. It's somewhat,
Right, I
it's
know.
a shame it's not a video.
But
But the point is, the other squealing co-host that you heard alongside there in Delight is Raven Simone, who is a famous actress. She has had her own show.
She's famous? I've never heard of her.
She was on the Cosby Show. She's a co-host of The View, or has been for some time. So,
but there's like 7 hosts.
She's
on
as
The View,
famous as one of The View co-hosts is, in any case.
Right, okay.
And she's the one who, she basically said, "Oh, acting like there's no problem with it." And she herself is an African American. So it's like, is this supposed to be insulting, or is it cute when one of your co-hosts does it for a Halloween party, but not cute when Governor Northam did it 30 years ago? He has to resign. Nobody's saying Joy Behar has to resign. And just to boot, it's just kind of she says that, the original premise of Joy Behar reading that was that the New York Times said that curly hair was in, and Ms. Simone was basically saying, "Oh, where have you been? We've been doing that for a while." Well, she has past shoulder length straight blonde hair in this clip, which was from 2016, by the way. So a little bit of a cultural appropriation there for Ms. Simone.
Nice turn of phrase.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Nice turn of phrase. Now, let me just play devil's advocate for a second. I mean, Governor...
You want to do Kingfisher and Amos and Andy, or?
Oh, please. But Governor Northam, okay, he said he dressed up as Michael Jackson because he always liked Michael Jackson, and he was imitating him.
And Herring said he dressed up as Curtis Blow for the same reason.
As a black rapper, right. So if they really like their music and they're dressing up, isn't that really
Tim,
a tribute to
when
those
you go
artists?
out on Halloween as Batman, it's not because you don't like Batman. Okay?
Right.
It's
Okay,
because
there you go.
love Batman.
Okay. I rest my case, counselor.
Yeah, same thing. For real. It's homage. It's tribute. Look, I had a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket when I was a kid, and I can tell you it was no small feat prying the dough out of my old man to lay out for that jacket.
I'm sure of that. I don't even know how the Democrats start to untangle all of this in Virginia because they boxed themselves into a corner. Now, it might all have changed if Governor Northam had said at the beginning, look, that picture in the year, but that wasn't me. He sent it out right away. That wasn't me. I don't know why it got in there.
I'm not a yearbook editor.
And by the way, I've never seen the yearbook, which he said the next day. I've never seen that yearbook. But instead, he prevaricated and changed his story, and then changed it again.
I've never seen a law school yearbook. I don't know if there is one. I've never seen one.
Yeah, so I think if he had, it's all in the way that he handled it, and he could have said, that was not me in blackface, because the only time I was in blackface was a tribute to Michael Jackson, whose work I admired greatly, and by the way, I know how to moonwalk.
Right, before I found out he was a serial child sexual predator.
Yeah, well, all right. Because this was 1984.
You're not allowed to like him now. No, that's the point, though. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that it's not okay to like it.
I think so. There's a pressure now on Black Twitter for people to not play Michael Jackson because of it.
Oh, I see. So if you're woke, then Michael Jackson is not cool.
Tim, there's so many things that are not cool if you're woke.
Okay, I just needed to.
In all instances, we have to check the political implication. You can't put a record on because you like the music, or eat a meal because you want it because you think it's going to taste good. You always have to think about the political implications of how these things.
Is there anything that's not politicized?